for watching Fugitive Red-Eye, and welcome to another anime review. Today I'm going to be talking about the anime series Serial Experiments Lain. Serial Experiments Lain is an early 2000s anime that I don't believe had a manga to begin with. The show ran for a total of 13 episodes. And the first way I watched it was I actually just kind of bought the first volume on DVD at random, just to see if I'd like it or not, because the cover art made me think it looked pretty cool. After watching the first volume, I decided to buy the other 3 volumes, which I do not regret. It is an amazing series, although it may not be for everyone. First, let's talk about the plot. Serial Experiments Lain follows a young girl named Lain, and strange things start happening around in the town she lives in. A chick commits suicide, and everyone starts recognizing Lain even though she's never talked to them before. And people say, oh, she seems different, she was so much more fun when we met her the other day, yet she has no idea what these people are talking about. Also, this focuses on a big, Matrix sort of thing. Think the Matrix meets the internet. They call it the Wired. It's a gigantic virtual world that starts blending with the real world in this series, and starts blending the line between what's real and what isn't. And because of that, a lot of weird shit starts happening. That's really all I have to say about the plot without being super spoilery, plus this is a hard plot to explain, as I will get into later. The animation is spectacular. It has that 2000s charm. I really do feel like the 2000s was the perfect age of anime. You had Elfen Lied, you had Death Note, Blood Plus, Noir, all sorts of anime then. Noir might have been late 90s though, now that I think about it, but I'm not 100% sure. But that's not what we're talking about here. Basically, it has that early 2000s, late 90s charm that anime had back in those days. Some of the character design look very similar to the guy who did Kite, however, it is not the same person. I thought it was initially, but it's not. The same guy who did this show actually also did another show called Technolize, which I haven't finished yet, but it's another very similarly weird series. This series is weird. It is very, very fucking weird, and at some points, even kind of hard to follow. There's some stuff about a guy being god of the Wired, and Lain becoming the next god of the Wired, and her image appearing in the sky. And it's honestly hard to tell if this story is 100% linear or not. I'm pretty sure it is linear, but there's some things that seem a little bit out of sequence. Nevertheless, it's still an amazing series. One last good thing I want to mention is I initially watched it with the dub, because that's what the DVD had for default, and I decided to watch the dub for some reason, even though I usually watch animes subbed. However, I did like the dub. This was a pretty decent dub for anime, because a lot of the times English dubs are shit, but this is one of the few exceptions. I do intend to go back and rewatch it in Japanese, but I haven't seen it in Japanese yet. Another thing that was kind of interesting is at the end of each episode, the previews they show would show these live-action Asian women all close up on certain body parts, like their mouth or their eyes or their hands. It's really bizarre, like ARG level shit. But anyway, on to the actual few criticisms I do have. Number 1, it's confusing. This story is incredibly confusing and hard to follow. But I honestly do think, even though that might turn some people off it, that's part of its charm. And you get an idea of the plot overall, sort of. It's just, it is kind of hard to tell what's real, what isn't, what happens in the Wired, what's real. Also, there's a lot of really confusing and just out-of-place imagery that makes absolutely no sense. And from what little I've seen of Technolize, it's the same kind of thing. So I think that the guy who makes these series is really into weird avant-garde stuff. But I highly recommend everyone check out this series to at least give it a shot. Even if it doesn't seem like it's your thing, at least, watch the first episode or 2. If you like really weird, symbolic, somewhat cyberpunky stuff, then you'll like this. This series may be one of the most confusing animes I've seen, but it's also one of the greatest. But anyway, that's all I have to say about Serial Experiments Lain. I hope you guys have enjoyed this review, and let me know what you think of the review and the series in the comments below. Have a great day.